Japan by day is a place of order, tradition, and breathtaking beauty. But when the sun sets, a different Japan awakens, a darker, hidden world where the usual rules don't seem to apply. Behind the neon lights and bustling nightlife lies an underbelly only few talk about, filled with exploitation, secrecy, and unexpected dangers. Prepare to be amazed as we uncover the startling dark side of Japan's nightlife. Number 10. Host clubs. Our first stop brings us to the neon lights of Kabukicho, where Japan's host clubs offer more than meets the eye. In the bustling Tokyo district, these clubs are the iconic symbols of the city's vibrant nightlife. Here, women pay to enjoy the exclusive company of young, charismatic male hosts. These hosts, generally in their 20s, are expertly trained to weave an illusion of romance. They captivate their clients with engaging conversation, making each woman feel special and desired. This phenomenon began humbly in the 1960s with venues designed for men seeking female companionship. By the 1970s, however, the dynamic shifted and male hosts started entertaining female patrons. Fast forward to the early 2000s, and Kabukicho alone hosted over 300 of these clubs, solidifying its place as a nightlife destination like no other. Yet this experience comes at a price. In 2016, a documentary titled The Great Happiness Space unveiled the staggering earnings of top hosts who could make up to 3 million yen, or about $20,000, a month. This immense profitability attracts young men to the industry and pulls clients into a complex web of emotional and financial entanglement. Behind the allure lies a troubling reality. In March 2024, a woman identified as Yu shared her harrowing experience. She began visiting a host club in Kabukicho, seeking companionship, but quickly found herself spiraling into debt as she bought extravagant drinks to keep her host's attention. Her debt grew to 25 million yen, roughly $165,000, a sum she could not possibly repay. To cover her debt, she was pressured into work, a tragic outcome mirroring the stories of countless women who enter these clubs unprepared for the financial traps they face. As a matter of fact, the previous year, in December 2023, the Tokyo Police Department made a shocking discovery after arresting 140 women in Kabukicho for soliciting prostitution. 43% of these women admitted that debts to host clubs had pushed them to this act. Debt serves as a powerful form of control within the industry, often trapping clients in a cycle they cannot escape. In response, organizations like Cyboran, founded in July 2023, have stepped in to help families whose daughters are drowning in insurmountable debts, usually between 7 and 8 million yen, or about $50,000 to $57,000. A chilling case that further exposed the dark emotional entanglements within this world involved Yuka Takaoka. In May 2019, 21-year-old hostess Yuka Takaoka was arrested for stabbing her boyfriend, host Phoenix Luna, in their Shinjuku apartment. Takaoka discovered photos of Luna with his clients on his phone, which she interpreted as infidelity. Overwhelmed by jealousy and despair, she waited until Luna was asleep and then stabbed him in the abdomen with a kitchen knife. Luna managed to escape to the building's lobby before collapsing. A widely circulated photograph captured Takaoka sitting beside Luna's bloodied body, smoking a cigarette, and using her phone, appearing disturbingly calm. She later stated that she loved him so much, she just couldn't help it. Luna survived the attack after being hospitalized in critical condition. To curb the predatory practices of these host clubs, Tokyo law enforcement began increasing inspections in December 2003. They reviewed 176 host clubs, uncovering pricing violations in 132 of them. Among the most common issues were undisclosed charges for champagne towers, which, while glamorous, often plunge clients further into debt. These inspections mark an essential first step in addressing the darker, exploitative aspects of an industry that has long been woven into Japan's nightlife. While host clubs prey on their clients, black companies exploit their own workers in the most disturbing ways. Number 9. Black companies in the nightlife industry. Black companies, or buraku kigyo, cast a dark shadow over Japan's nightlife.
It means a black company. But what does the color signify?
Ruthlessly exploiting workers with harsh practices. These companies are notorious across Japan, enforcing impossible working hours, withholding overtime pay, and creating toxic environments that leave employees trapped in cycles of abuse. The concept of black companies gained attention in the early 2000s, first associated with the IT industry, where young, ambitious workers were lured in with promises of advancement. But it wasn't long before people realized that these exploitative tactics extended far beyond tech. By the 2010s, it was clear that industries throughout Japan, especially the nightlife sector, were plagued by these harsh practices. In the nightlife industry, hostess clubs, bars, and entertainment venues became notorious for forcing workers to meet excessive sales quotas and endure unpaid overtime. Employees were often trapped in low-wage roles with impossible expectations. These workers, many of whom are young and lack experience, face relentless harassment if they fail to meet targets. Hostesses, in particular, have reported severe power harassment, with management withholding pay, cutting wages, and even shaming them publicly during staff meetings if quotas weren't met. One of the most tragic examples is the case of Minamori, a 26-year-old who began working for the restaurant chain Watami in 2008. Just 2 months into the job, Mori was forced to work over 140 hours of overtime each month, without any compensation. The stress and relentless pressure were too much, and Mori took her own life. Her family pursued legal action, and in 2015, they won the lawsuit against Watami, receiving a settlement of 130 million yen. As awareness of these conditions grew, activists established the Black Company Award in 2015 to publicly call out Japan's worst offenders. That year, 7-Eleven Japan won this award for its shocking labor practices, forcing franchisees and part-time workers into grueling shifts under intense conditions. While cases like Mori's brought attention to the issue, the exploitation continued. In 2023, a survey revealed that nearly 39% of Japanese employees had either worked for or were currently employed by a black company, and the consequences are severe. Workers in these companies often suffer from depression, anxiety, and in some cases, karoshi, death by overwork. Today, the Japanese government has introduced stricter labor laws to curb these practices, but enforcement remains a challenge, especially in informal, high-pressure industries like nightlife. Patrons and visitors must recognize the human cost behind Japan's entertainment scenes. By choosing to support establishments that prioritize fair treatment and humane work conditions, consumers can contribute to a fairer, safer, and more ethical nightlife industry for Japan's workers. While black companies exploit adult workers, the JK business targets vulnerable young girls. Number 8. JK Business. In Tokyo's Akihabara district,
In walking around the Akihabara neighborhood, it seems like the news story should be about how many JK businesses are still open for business.
a hidden industry known as the JK business thrives beneath the city's bright lights. JK stands for Joshi Kosei, which means high school girls in Japanese, and this business involves paid interactions between men and teenage girls. What starts as innocent conversation or companionship can sometimes drift into disturbing and exploitative areas. The roots of the JK business go back to the early 2000s. After the maid cafe trend in Akihabara began to fade, some entrepreneurs turned their focus to younger girls in school uniforms, launching JK Walks. In these walks, clients paid to walk around with a girl dressed in a high school uniform. While some of these interactions remained friendly, others quickly crossed the line into exploitative, coercing young girls into providing services they had not agreed to. In 2014, a particularly disturbing case surfaced involving a 15-year-old girl. She joined a JK business hoping for easy money, but soon found herself pressured into providing sexual services. When she tried to leave, she faced threats and even physical violence. After her eventual escape, her testimony led to the arrest of several individuals, shedding light on the manipulative and coercive tactics used to keep these girls trapped. When the 2020 Olympics was approaching, Tokyo authorities took action. In 2017, they introduced new regulations requiring JK businesses to register with the police and banning anyone under 18 from working in these establishments. They also placed restrictions on where JK businesses could operate, keeping them at least 200 meters away from schools, nurseries, hospitals, and other public areas. However, despite these measures, the JK business continued to operate. In 2018, the US Department of State reported that Japan was struggling to address child exploitation effectively. They noted that cases of suspected child trafficking were often dealt with minor administrative penalties rather than strict criminal charges. By 2020, 8 prefectures had stepped up with stricter regulations. Despite these efforts, the JK business continues to be a troubling part of Japan's nightlife scene. It presents ongoing challenges as authorities try to protect vulnerable young people while dealing with complex cultural issues. As locals struggle with the JK business, tourists encounter their own traps with scams designed to exploit the unsuspecting. Number 7. Tourist-targeted scams. Japan's nightlife has a reputation for its energy and excitement, but there's a hidden side filled with carefully crafted scams that target tourists. Knowing these tricks can mean the difference between a memorable night out and an expensive, regret-filled one. In Tokyo's famous Roppongi and Kabukicho districts, one of the most common traps is the rip-off bar scam.
First most common tourist scam in Tokyo is rip-off bars.
Touts, often foreign nationals, approach tourists with promises of exclusive clubs or unique experiences. They're persuasive, and once you're inside, the bill quickly becomes sky-high, with hidden fees, overpriced drinks, and sometimes even drugged beverages that leave people vulnerable. Back in 2019, Tokyo police ramped up patrols in these areas to tackle the scam, but warned that it's a persistent problem. Street solicitations here are not friendly invitations. They're almost always red flags. Then, there are fake monks. In popular spots like Asakusa and Kamakura, you might see men dressed in monk-like robes, offering trinkets or blessings in exchange for donations. They seem spiritual and kind, but these monks are imposters. True monks don't solicit donations on the street. Many tourists end up giving money, feeling it's a gesture of respect, only to find out later that it's a scam exploiting cultural symbols. Declining politely is the best move if you come across them. In historic areas like Kyoto and Asakusa, rickshaw rides seem like a charming way to see the sights. But some drivers take advantage, especially if you haven't agreed on a price in advance. What starts as a relaxing experience can end with a bill far higher than expected. To avoid this, it's crucial to confirm the fare before hopping in. Better yet, use a reputable service known for fair pricing. Shibuya and Harajuku, Tokyo's trendy districts, have their own scams. Tourists, particularly young women, might be approached by people posing as photographers or talent scouts. They talk up the glamour of modeling, offering photo shoots or casting calls. Genuine agencies, however, rarely recruit on the street. Accepting such offers can lead to uncomfortable situations and sometimes financial traps. Some scams are even more personal. In nightlife spots and on dating apps, individuals feign romantic interest in tourists to take advantage financially. In a shocking case, a Japanese woman was sentenced to 9 years in prison for tricking men out of over $1 million using this approach. She even sold manuals on how to carry out similar scams, showing just how advanced these operations can be. There's also a charity scam that appears after disasters. Following the Tohoku earthquake in 2011, scammers posed as charity workers to collect donations that never reached the affected communities. To be safe, only donate through verified channels. Moving from tourist scams, we now enter the red light districts, where shadows conceal even more dangerous activities. Number 6. Red light districts. Tokyo's red light districts, like Kabukicho and Roppongi, have long been famous as Japan's nightlife hotspots. But what most people don't know is the turbulent and shadowy history that lurks behind their neon lights. Kabukicho started out right after World War II, intended to be a theater area to help the economy bounce back. By the 1970s, however, it transformed into a hub of bars, izakayas, and adult entertainment venues. Roppongi, meanwhile, drew in foreign tourists in the 80s, offering a different kind of excitement. But soon, both areas gained a reputation for their connections with organized crime and some pretty dark activities.
にやっぱりお酒を飲むところって問題が生じるんですよ、必ず。で、そういう時に
One of the more chilling dangers began showing up in the late 1990s. Drink spiking specifically targeting foreigners in Roppongi. Tourists and expats reported waking up after blackouts, realizing that they'd been drugged and that large sums of money had vanished from their accounts. It got so serious that by 2009, the US Embassy issued a warning advising travelers to avoid certain bars. Things didn't improve, and by 2014, the embassy expanded their warning to include Kabukicho, confirming that drink spiking incidents were happening more widely. The risks haven't faded in recent years. In September 2024, a particularly tragic incident in Kabukicho underscored how dangerous things can still get. A French man, Alexandre Laforêt, in a drunken altercation, allegedly shoved a local man named Akihiko Nogami, who hit his head fatally when he fell. Laforêt claimed he didn't remember a thing, yet this shocking case once again highlighted the violent undercurrents in these popular spots. Organized crime has held its grip on Kabukicho for decades. In October 2020, there was a massive brawl in the area between Yakuza members and independent scouting groups, all fighting over control of Kabukicho's profitable entertainment venues. Power struggles like this often happen behind the scenes, but reveal just how tightly the nightlife here is tied to these crime groups. Today, Tokyo police try to keep these areas safer, cracking down on scams and stepping up patrols. But for locals and tourists alike, the allure of these districts still comes with real risk. The chaos of red light districts hints at something larger: the Yakuza, who hold these areas in their iron grip. Number 5. Yakuza influence in nightlife districts. Japan's nightlife districts dazzle with neon lights and endless excitement, but beneath the surface lies the shadowy influence of the Yakuza, the country's infamous organized crime syndicates. The Yakuza's roots stretch back to the early 17th century during the Edo period. They began as groups of gamblers and street merchants on society's fringes. By the 19th century, these groups had organized into structured syndicates with their own codes of conduct. After World War II, in the 1950s, Japan underwent rapid reconstruction. The Yakuza seized this opportunity to expand their influence, especially in entertainment and nightlife districts like Kabukicho in Tokyo and Dotonbori in Osaka. These areas became hubs for their activities, including illegal gambling, prostitution, and loan sharking. During the economic boom of the 1980s, known as the bubble era, the Yakuza's power grew substantially. They invested heavily in real estate and entertainment venues, using these businesses to launder money and conduct illicit operations. Nightlife districts flourished, but so did the Yakuza's control over them. In 1989, the Japanese government enacted the anti-Boryokudan law to curb organized crime. Despite this, the Yakuza adapted their methods. In 2004, it was revealed that the Yamaguchi-gumi, the largest Yakuza syndicate, had infiltrated legitimate businesses in Tokyo's Roppongi district, blurring the lines between lawful and unlawful enterprises.
湯山真也と申します。私は元ヤクザの組員で逮捕歴は11回。
A significant incident occurred in 2010 when police raided several hostess clubs in Kabukicho suspected of being under Yakuza control. They uncovered evidence of human trafficking and exploitation of foreign workers, bringing international attention to these hidden crimes. In 2015, a split within the Yamaguchi-gumi led to violent turf wars in nightlife districts. Cities like Kobe and Nagoya experienced increased gang-related violence, putting residents and visitors in danger. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, reports emerged that the Yakuza were offering high-interest loans to struggling bar and club owners in Shinjuku's Golden Gai area. These predatory loans trapped business owners in cycles of debt, allowing the Yakuza to tighten their grip on these establishments. In Osaka's Amerikamura district in 2021, police arrested members of a Yakuza-linked group running illegal gambling dens hidden within nightlife venues.
The Yamaguchi-gumi, Japan's largest Yakuza, or gangster group, is undergoing a split.
These operations generated millions of yen, fueling further criminal activities. Despite intensified efforts by law enforcement, the Yakuza's deep-rooted connections make them a persistent force in Japan's nightlife. Their ability to adapt keeps them entwined with the very fabric of these districts.
恐喝で、お店からお金を取るというよりも、その例えば、キャバクラ飲み屋さんですよね。
While the Yakuza control nightlife districts, love hotels provide a private escape, yet even these rooms hold dark secrets. Number 4. Love hotels. In the bustling streets of Japan's cities, love hotels are more than just private rooms. They're a fascinating part of the nightlife scene. Japan has thousands of these hotels spread across the country, offering couples a place for discretion and privacy. While many use them for legitimate reasons, love hotels have also gained a reputation as places where illicit activities unfold, casting a shadow over their original purpose. The roots of love hotels stretch back centuries to Japan's Edo period, from 1603 to 1868. During this time, discreet tea houses offered private rooms for couples, but the modern love hotel took off in the 1960s, especially with the opening of the Hotel Love in Osaka in 1968, which sparked the term love hotel. These venues offered themed rooms, hourly rates, and even unique amenities, quickly making them popular among couples looking for privacy. But with anonymity came a darker side, as some began using love hotels for criminal activities. One shocking incident happened in July 2023 in Sapporo's Susukino district. The police discovered the headless body of a man in a love hotel room. The victim, a 62-year-old man named Hitoshi Ura, had checked into the room with a woman who later left alone. Following this disturbing find, investigations led to the arrest of 29-year-old Runa Tamura and her parents Osamu and Hiroko, all charged in connection with the crime. This high-profile case highlighted how love hotels, with their anonymity, can be exploited for horrific acts. Aside from violent crimes, love hotels are also linked to human trafficking and prostitution. The U.S. Department of State's 2018 Trafficking in Persons report noted that some love hotels in Japan were used for commercial sex exploitation, even involving minors. The report urged for stricter rules and more robust enforcement to prevent this exploitation. Recently, Japanese authorities have ramped up efforts to address these darker activities. Still, love hotels remain a unique part of Japanese culture, drawing in tourists with themed rooms and interesting amenities. Many offer a whimsical, safe, and private experience for visitors. Yet, the darker side of this industry raises ongoing concerns, making it clear that Japan's love hotels are not just quirky places to stay, but also venues where more serious issues can surface. If love hotels offer privacy, rent-a-family services provide companionship, filling a different void in Japan's fast-paced society. Number 3. Rent-a-family services. If you think Japan's nightlife revolves solely around bars, clubs, or late-night karaoke, think again. Japan has crafted a unique, legally recognized solution to combat loneliness: renting companions. This isn't just a gimmick. It's an industry designed to meet the social needs of people struggling with isolation in a high-pressure, fast-paced culture. Here's the reality. Over 30% of Japanese adults report difficulties forming connections due to long work hours and packed schedules. This demand for companionship sparked the rise of the rent-a-boyfriend and rent-a-girlfriend services. For approximately 6,000 yen per hour, or around $40, you can rent someone to chat with, walk around town, or share a quiet moment in a cozy cafe. The minimum rental time is 2 hours, and while it may sound unconventional, this industry has become a significant part of Japan's economy. In fact, by 2020, it had generated close to 10 billion yen in revenue. This isn't about adult services or romance. Rather, it offers companionship, comfort, and an escape from solitude. Surprisingly, clients are not just young, single individuals. Many married people also use these services to fill the emotional gaps in their relationships. They seek connection without the complications, simply wanting someone to listen or walk by their side. But the services extend beyond romantic companionship. In Japan, you can rent a friend or even a family member, need a supportive older brother to help you through a tough time, or a best friend to attend a social event with you. You can rent one. Some people even rent entire families, complete with a spouse, child, or sibling, to create the perfect image for a family gathering or special occasion. Picture this: hiring a wife who is always cheerful, a child who is both adorable and polite, or a brother to celebrate a wedding with you. Leading companies like Family Romance allow clients to specify each family member's age, appearance, and personality traits. These family setups come at a higher price, with an average cost of 40,000 yen, about $260, for a reunion. From filling emotional gaps with rented families, we now look at a surprising gap in Japan's renowned cleanliness. Number 2. Not everywhere is clean. Japan is renowned for its impressive cleanliness.
While I think daily cleaning is not necessarily the norm, it's very common to see seniors out in the morning cleaning in front of their homes.
And it's easy to see why. Whether you're wandering through the bustling streets of Tokyo or exploring the serene temples of Kyoto, one thing stands out: the streets are spotless. There's barely a hint of litter, and the air of orderliness feels almost unreal. This cleanliness isn't just about hygiene, it's deeply rooted in cultural beliefs. Shinto, Japan's ancient religion, promotes purity and respect for nature, making cleanliness a way of honoring life and the environment. But despite this reputation, Japan's cleanliness isn't flawless. Surprisingly, certain areas expose the country's hidden struggles with waste. Take Kabukicho, Tokyo's famous red light district in Shinjuku. By day, it's fairly tidy, but as night falls and nightlife peaks, trash from bars, clubs, and restaurants starts to accumulate. In the early morning, a dedicated team of cleaners rushes in to restore order, a routine necessity for this lively part of Tokyo. Then there's Japan's growing issue with plastic waste. While residents are diligent about recycling and waste sorting, single-use plastics remain a significant challenge. In supermarkets, it's common to see items wrapped in several layers of plastic. Even fruits, like watermelons and grapes, come in plastic containers and bags. This culture of excessive packaging has led to a high level of plastic waste, posing ongoing challenges in waste management and recycling. Japan's commitment to cleanliness is inspiring, but there's still work to be done beneath the pristine surface. Beyond the battle with waste, another hidden truth emerges at night: the quiet struggle of Japan's homeless. Number 1. Homelessness. In Japan, homelessness is officially reported at a low rate, with about 0.0002% of the population categorized as homeless. Statistics indicate a decline from over 25,000 individuals in 2003 to approximately 3,000 in 2023. But at night, a different picture unfolds. Tokyo's bustling districts, especially nightlife hubs like Shinjuku, reveal a side of the city rarely highlighted in official reports. As the streets empty of commuters and tourists, parks, underpasses, and train stations quietly transform into shelters for those without homes, exposing a hidden layer of the city's reality. Tokyo's homeless population, often unseen during the day, becomes more visible at night, with Shinjuku as one of the central hotspots. Adding another layer to Japan's homelessness crisis is the phenomenon of net cafe refugees. These individuals, unable to afford stable housing, find shelter in 24-hour internet cafes scattered across Tokyo. Estimates suggest that thousands of people use these cafes nightly, relying on them as an affordable alternative to traditional housing, blurring the lines of what homelessness truly means in Japan. Many experts argue that Japan's official homelessness statistics
annual study which showed a total of 3,065 homeless people
don't capture the full reality. The government's data often excludes hidden homeless groups, such as net cafe refugees or those staying temporarily with friends or in informal shelters. A 2020 study estimated that nearly 6% of Japan's population might experience some level of housing insecurity, highlighting a larger, often invisible crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic only intensified these struggles. As internet cafes temporarily shut down during lockdowns, many net cafe refugees suddenly found themselves without shelter. Though temporary measures were introduced to address this, the pandemic exposed the precariousness of their situation. Efforts to support the homeless in Japan include a range of government programs and non-profits that provide food, temporary shelter, and employment assistance. But there's a major barrier that makes it difficult for people to get back on their feet: societal stigma. Homeless individuals often face discrimination, which can make reintegrating into stable housing and steady jobs incredibly challenging. Though the official numbers make Japan's homelessness rate look low, what we see at night tells a different story. Bridging this gap, recognizing the unseen homelessness, is key to building real solutions, effective support systems, and creating a society that's truly inclusive. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.